Martin Luther King said that a leader is not a searcher of consensus, they're a molder of consensus. This country needs to shut down and you all need to suffer. I told you to go on a general strike. You know what you said? I have a job, I can't afford to. I have a job, I can't afford to. I can't afford to. That's cool, great. So now you're going to be forced to be uncomfortable. You're going to be forced to lose your job. You were unwilling to be uncomfortable. When you look at the civil rights movement, they were all uncomfortable. Solitary confinement. Look what happened to John Lewis. Kaepernick lost his job. Many people were beaten and mistreated, but not white Americans. Nope. I can't afford to. Oh, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Oh, I have a job. Yeah. That's called white privilege, and that's what you're still hiding behind is your whiny little shit. Me, 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 me. Look what happened in Nepal. They stood up and they took them out of power. You don't think those people live paycheck to paycheck? You think they're all rich? No. They did what was necessary to stop what was happening to their country. But you're not even willing to be financially uncomfortable. So now you're going to be forced to. Yes, I hope the Democrats find a backbone and don't shut it down. Do I have any faith in them? No, none, zero. But this country needs to go through this. And remember this for the people that chose to be privileged and not to be uncomfortable, how you stood behind it and watched people in concentration camps, women losing their pregnancies, people passing away. You saw people getting their arms dislocated. You saw women and men having their families broke up after 40 or 50 years, good people, and you stood by and goes, well, that really sucks, but I'm not going to stand up for them because I have to worry about myself. They're just a stranger. Cool. Then you remember that when you lose your goddamn job because you choose to sit there and watch other people suffer while you lived off of your crumbs.
The U.S. government is going to be shutting down in about 24 hours, and that is according to Vice President J.D. Vance. And there are 5 major impacts that this is going to have on our country. So first is our court system and the massive legal delays that we're going to experience for every day that our government is shut down. Specifically, immigration court. Most immigration court staff will be furloughed, so hearings for asylum, deportation, and green card cases will be postponed, which if you've been following the news in the past few months, that is a lot of cases. Second is all federal workers are either going to be furloughed or unpaid. This means hundreds of thousands of federal employees will be sent home without pay, and President Trump already said that a lot of these employees will be permanently fired. Now, essential workers like TSA and Border Patrol will be forced to continue working, but won't be able to collect a paycheck until after the government shutdown ends. Now, this leads to the next major effect, which is air travel disruption. The big thing here is the FAA will halt all training and hiring for air traffic controllers. This is going to result in a TSA staffing shortage because some of them are going to quit because they're not getting a paycheck, and then they can't hire new employees. So the longer this government shutdown lasts, the more delays we'll see at airports. Now, the fourth major effect is the closure of national parks and federally funded museums. Several national parks, national monuments, and federally funded museums will be forced to shut down because, well, they won't have any workers. Now, in recent government shutdowns, some national parks actually stayed open, but they saw a massive increase in overflow trash and pollution because nobody was there to pick it up. And coming in at number 5, which might be number 1 in importance, and that is an overall economic decline of the United States. Now, there's so many ways that this affects the U.S. economy. I would not be able to list them all in this short video. One being that, federal contractors and small businesses that rely on government work won't be able to get paid, but they estimate that for every 1 week that the U.S. government is shut down, the economy loses $1 billion. So to everyone who's going to be affected by this government shutdown, which is pretty much all of us, hang in there. And my question to you is, do you think this government shutdown was avoidable?
We have major news right now. We're now less than 11 hours away from a government shutdown. And folks, everything points to a government shutdown tonight at midnight on October 1st. The government will shut down. And what that mean for you? Well, Trump is saying he will conduct mass firings of federal employees, literally eliminating tens of thousands of federal jobs, furloughing tens of thousands of others. Some will lose their jobs and they won't get it back. Others will lose their jobs for a period of time and will work without, and some will even have to work without pay. National parks may start to close. There may be interruptions in trying to get entitlement benefits, especially if the government shutdown lasts for a long period of time. It may be longer wait times at airports as air traffic control and TSA, while they're essential, not as many will be working. Get ready. I mean, it's going to be a very prolonged potential shutdown right now, starting tonight. So spread the word. More to come soon. Follow along, stay updated on all the news you need to know about. I will have much more to come very soon.
It's highly likely the government is going to shut down on Wednesday. How is this going to affect you? What's going to remain open? What's going to be closed? If you receive any type of funding whatsoever from the government, or if you use governmental services in any way, whether it's Social Security, SNAP, rental assistance, small business, you're a vet, whether you go to the post office, this video is for you. I will go through the list of what's open and what could be closed, or most likely will be paused if this government shuts down on Wednesday. Now, first of all, congressional lawmakers did meet with Trump earlier tonight in the Oval Office. They tried to come up with a plan to avoid the government shutdown. They failed. They did not come up with a plan. What is happening is that the government wants, the Trump administration wants new spending to be approved. One of those things is that they want tens of millions of dollars for lawmakers' security. So if that's not approved, well, then the government shuts down. Will this be a partial or a full shutdown? We don't know. Probably a partial, but anything can happen between now and Wednesday as well. But if they don't come up with a plan and this money does not get approved by midnight on Tuesday, at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday, October 1st, the government will shut down. Now let's get into the list of what will be open and what will be closed. Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid will remain open. You will still be able to use your health insurance and receive your payments. This is because they are not funded through the Treasury Department. Anything that is funded through the Treasury Department, there's going to be problems with. But these programs are funded through permanent appropriations, okay? Now, the post office is privately funded. They'll remain open. Anything that has to do with the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security, like immigration, border patrol, security activities, all of those things will remain open and active. Why? Because the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security they have tons of money. You know, they were appropriated a ton of funding immediately in July. Immediately they got that funding. Veterans Affairs, veterans hospitals, clinics, they will all remain open. Now, as far as Social Security, the only thing that you're going to see a problem with is with the new benefit verification, as well as if you need a new Social Security card. That might be paused or delayed. WIC and SNAP. Those two programs, they have to use whatever money they have left, which is not a lot. And once they run out of that money, they're not going to get new funding unless the government does not shut down and funding is dispersed. So WIC and SNAP will be affected if the government shuts down. Now, if you extended your taxes, the taxes will still be due on October 15th. That will not be affected. Now, due to the furloughs that are going to occur with federal employees, who, by the way, will go without pay if there's a government shutdown, there will be delayed services with the IRS and Small Business Administration as well. Individuals who will be hit really hard are small business owners. It's always the private sector who's hit hardest in these government shutdowns. Now, housing. Any housing programs, rental assistance, Section 8, any type of loans, even housing loans, all of those programs will be affected. There will be a delay in that. If you're looking to get a passport, the passport offices will remain open. You will still be able to obtain and purchase a passport or get a passport renewed, whatever it is that you need to do there. Now, as far as any type of student loans, Pell Grants, FAFSA, all of those programs will continue, but only until the funds run out. So if this shutdown is prolonged, colleges, universities, and school districts throughout the country who receive federal funding will be affected, and they won't receive that funding. So primarily, those are the things that are going to be open and closed and affected as far as if there is a government shutdown on Wednesday, which it does look as though that is what's going to happen. Now, this will be the third government shutdown under Trump if this occurs. Fox News reports that there have been 10 government shutdowns since 1980. Interestingly enough, though, CBS News reported that there have been 14 government shutdowns since 1980. But nonetheless, the government shutdowns cost the taxpayers money. Okay? Don't be fooled. I will keep you updated on this for sure. Please like, follow, and share so that I can continue to provide you with content. And I appreciate you being here.
Honestly, this is actually not funny. Like when I saw those clips online and I saw the unfiltered reaction of these Americans, I was like, no, we need to bring this video and we need to talk about it. But I'll first of all allow you guys enjoy the other clips that I have for you guys so that you guys can actually let me know what your thoughts is in the comment section. Because the thing is, I do not even know how long will this shutdown actually be. And according to what the news have been reporting, this is actually going to be starting October, and tomorrow is that same October 1st. It is alarming, honestly, because I really feel for Americans right now. But anyways, I'll go ahead and roll out the clips I have for you guys. Credit belongs to original creators of every clips and stitches we have in our today's episode, and this is just for educational purpose. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section, because as at this point, I am confused. I don't even know what to say. But let's finish up with the remaining clips and I'll be back with commentaries. What?
We are just a few hours away from a government shutdown. So what can you expect if it actually happens this time? And it looks like it will. First, you have to understand that a government shutdown is not random. It's scheduled. And if it happens, it doesn't mean the US government is broke, and it doesn't mean the US government has no money. The US government has plenty of money. If the government shuts down, it means Congress has failed to do the one job that it has. See, the US government runs on a fiscal calendar from October 1st through September 30th. And every single year, it is Congress's job to find a way to fund the government before the fiscal year ends. That means it's Congress's job to figure out how much money each department and agency will get in their budget and figure out which priorities will and will not be funded. And if September 30th comes around and there is no spending plan approved by both the House and the Senate and signed by the president, no government agencies or departments get their budget allotment, so they don't have money to operate. Then they have to close, and ultimately the government shuts down. And tomorrow is September 30th. And we are not even in the ballpark of a deal to keep the government open. Okay, so now that you know how government shutdowns happen, let's talk about what happens when the government shuts down. During a shutdown, the federal government must stop all non-essential functions until Congress passes a spending bill. Each agency and department determines what work is essential and what is not. And in this Trump administration, the executive branch also has a big say. The federal workers who are considered non-essential will be furloughed, and agencies and departments that are considered non-essential will close. Now, instead of running down a list of what is considered non-essential and will be shutting down, because it's a pretty long list, it's actually much easier to tell you what is considered essential and will be staying open. So Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, military operations, law enforcement, U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and Air Traffic Control, all those departments will stay open. However, depending on how long the shutdown lasts, the people who work at those departments and agencies may have to go to work without pay. The longer the shutdown lasts, the worse things get. Almost immediately after a government shutdown, the national parks will close. So if you have a trip planned to see one of our beautiful national parks in the next week or so, you may want to reschedule. And if the shutdown lasts more than a few days, passport processing could slow down or stop. Federal courts, including immigration courts, could start postponing or canceling hearings. And some federal government contractors may not get paid. Now, your payments from Social Security, Disability, Medicare, Medicaid, those will all still be processed, and the post office will stay open. However, some of the federal employees who work at those places are considered non-essential. So if you are looking to get help at those places, or you want to perhaps process a new disability or Social Security claim, or if you have questions about your existing benefits, getting those answers will become more difficult the longer the shutdown lasts. The White House used to keep a department-by-department list of shutdown plans, but now this Trump administration says each agency and department will post their own shutdown plans, which I will email as many of them to you as I can in tonight's Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up. The last time the U.S. government shut down was in 2018 and 2019 during the first Trump administration. Back then, the government shut down for 35 days. That was the longest shutdown in 40 years. The standoff in Congress back then was over Trump's demand for almost $6 billion to fund his border wall project. Lawmakers in the House and the Senate fought over that money for 35 days. But the shutdown actually cost the American economy billions of dollars. And after 5 weeks, Then President Trump, during his first term, ultimately signed a spending plan that did not include the funding for his border wall. Now, these days, the issues between Democrats and Republicans are much different. But in the end, Republicans right now control the House, the Senate, and the White House. So it is on them to keep the government open. And because of the rules of the Senate, coming up with a funding plan must be negotiated with Democrats because Republicans do not have the 60 votes necessary to pass the types of spending plans that President Trump wants on their own.
So we are in front of the United States Capitol. I am here because the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, Ben, created a new initiative called DOPE, the Department of Pentagon Express. And the purpose of it is to call out our government and how much money they are spending for war versus the budget that they can put towards everyday necessities. You will see good folks out here like Jolly Good Ginger. In the pink blazer, you'll see Madea. If you've seen anything going on in DC referencing to freeing Palestine, you have seen Madea. And if you saw the infamous video inside of Joe's Seafood where the women were protesting Trump inside of the restaurant, Olivia is here. She is right there in the pink shirt. And so I wanted to be very clear, as I've stated many of times, that there are people that are showing up and using their privileges in the best possible way. There are people who are protesting, and there are people who are using their platforms for good. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has power. Get outside, do what you can, mobilize, organize, strategize, but don't allow fascism to win. And as fate would have it, this is how you use social media. I literally did a live stream on my TikTok and met one of my cool peoples, Justin. So Justin, tell the people what brought you out here today.
I saw her streaming this event going on. I live here in DC, so I wanted to come check it out and see it for myself. I support her. I support Mr. Ben, what he's doing with the company and with Ben & Jerry's and standing up to the corporation. So I want to see what he had to say about his event. So I'm glad I came out. I'm glad I got to meet her as well.
Yeah, and so Justin is also a software engineer who, as a result of this administration, lost employment. So it's really important to understand that, like, our folks are also on the receiving end of the tyranny of this government. And so the fact that Justin is out here, not necessarily licking his wounds, but literally trying to do something to change his very own conditions and be in community with each other, this is how we show up for each other. We are literally all we got. So we can all just sit at home and lick our wounds, or we can get out here and do something about it. So I appreciate you coming out, man.
I appreciate you too.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
So Congress is in a little bit of a squabble. I'm sure you guys have been seeing headlines where they're saying that government shutdown is looming. And that's true. The deadline is tomorrow. And the reason why government shutdown is looming is because we haven't funded it. Okay, so we haven't paid all of the bills for government to work beyond tomorrow, which is what the House and the Senate are currently trying to work on before there's a lot of people that aren't working, because that's what happens when the government shut down. For those that don't understand the intricacies of Washington, D.C. district government, our budget is also tied into what Congress decides to do. So by default, government shuts down, DC government is also impacted as well. But Tori, what's going on? Well, there's a funding bill that was passed by the House, right? So the House has already passed a bill. And the way the government works is that when the House passes the bill, then it goes to the Senate. After it goes to the Senate, then it goes to the president. He's supposed to sign it or he can veto it, okay? But the House has passed a funding bill. This funding bill will cover funding through November the 21st. So it's really just a means to be able to buy time. I agree with Mike Johnson in that, right? Very sad words to have to say. But you have the Democrats, Charles Schumer and Jeffries, who are like, no, we need them to add certain things to this bill that essentially the Republicans just aren't adding. And so that's why we're at a bit of a standstill, because the Democrats are trying to say, listen, we need you to add some extensions of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. We also need you to restore funding to Medicaid and also return the $491 million to public broadcasting that you took, okay? And as we all have learned in most recent days, and in the last 2 weeks, especially due to Jimmy Kimmel, we've learned a lot about broadcasting and why having public broadcasting might be important. But you have the Senate Republicans that are like, no, we're not about to keep negotiating this. We're not going to add anything to this bill. You're going to have to vote and pass this bill, is essentially what's going on. Now, there is another bill that the Democrats drafted over there in the House, and that would be able to extend funding through October the 31st. But of course, their bill has some of the things that I've already listed out to you already within it. And the Senate didn't pass that one either. So effectively, the Senate did not pass the Republican bill that was already passed in the House, nor has the Senate passed the Democrat bill that is drafted in the House. So there are no bills that's been passed in the Senate. And so effectively, the holdup is the Senate. Now, this is where politics comes in. The Dems are going to look very, very bad if this government shuts down. Why? Just earlier this year, Chuck Schumer was like, a government shutdown is bad. We cannot have a government shutdown. It's going to be chaotic. People are going to be out of jobs, blah, 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 right? That was just earlier this year. Now you have the Democrats who are effectively causing a government shutdown. If you listen to the way that things are being spun by the Republicans, which is, we've already passed the bill that came out of the House. Why won't they just pick up the bill? Why won't they just go ahead and continue on with the passed bill? So essentially, we're trying to keep the government open, but because they won't pass our bill that, essentially gutted all this Medicare stuff, which is a very scary situation, then they're going to hold up everything, and people are going to be upset that government is shut down. They're going to be upset that they're not going to be able to go to work and get paid, all that jazz. And this is where my problem with this Democratic Congress comes in at. Because why can't you guys politic? Like, it floors me, the inability to actually politic with these people. Okay? And not for nothing, I understand the difficulty of trying to work with this population that doesn't know anything about governance. Because that's essentially what ended up happening. You had a bunch of Republicans that voted for a bunch of Republicans that have no idea how the government works, no idea the harm that passing certain laws and bills would do to the American public. And if they do, they just don't care. But there's supposed to be a meeting with the top four lawmakers in Congress. That's going to be a Senate Minority Leader, which is Charles Schumer. Then you have House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And then you have the Senate Majority Leader, who is John Thune. And then you also have the House Majority Leader, which is Mike Johnson. Okay, I might have those inverted, but they're the congressional Republican leadership for the majority. And there was supposed to be a meeting last week with Democrats and the president. However, the president randomly canceled it and just said that there's no way possible that this could have been productive. So he just decided to cancel it. Don't we all love a boss that cancels important meetings? Yeah. So effectively, that's what's going on in government right now. That's kind of what's on the headlines. It is going to be very interesting to see how we come out of this. And if the Democrats have to acquiesce anyway, because the reality is this: if they are not able to get anything changed and they decide to effectively have government shut down just for them to backpedal in a week, it's going to look very, very bad politically for the Democrats. And this is why the Democrats are between what is inevitably a rock and a hard place. But don't forget about midterm elections. They'll be out of that rock and hard place, and we can really hold them accountable for a lot of things if they are the majority. If things still don't get done and they're the majority, then they just suck. But currently in this position, they really don't have a leg to stand on, and they really don't have much equity to be able to force Republicans to come to the table. It just really isn't there.
Anyways, welcome back guys, and I hope you guys have seen all of that clips. I hope you guys have actually seen the breakdown analysis that I've actually gone into this. I remember there was a certain time where the I saw some videos online where a lot of people were like, let's shut down as a nation by ourselves, but a lot of people were actually paying deaf ears to it. But right now, reality is hitting more harder as the shutdown is now kicking off. And this is just the American unfiltered reaction that I've been able to bring to you guys. Anyways, let's take some of the comments that people actually have so that we can actually hear from their own point of view as well. That person said, we black people have been going through this for 500 years. So this person is literally trying to say there is nothing that will actually happen right now that will definitely affect them because they've actually been going through it for over 500 years. That person said it is government shutting down. It's a government shutdown every year. I don't know where this particular person is actually bringing her own from, but I don't think so. That person say, as a black person, we have been uncomfortable for the first day. We were human. I don't want to mention the name. Every shopping experience, every loan request, everywhere we live, work, breathe, how much should we still suffer? I'm just so fed up because this time around, the people I'm really feeling for are just the black community, because it just looks like every single time new things keep coming up that will affect them. But I think that this one will actually affect every single person as well, be it white, black, pink, no matter the race that you are. And that person said, and who are we blaming for all of this? Who should you blame? Should you come and blame me? You're supposed to blame the government for all of this. It's as simple as that. Another person said, nobody is willing to make any sacrifice. It's enraging. Exactly. Because in as much as a lot of people want to come out, voice out, a lot of people are still hiding in their shell. They're waiting for someone that will actually go in the battlefield for them. Who do you expect to go in the battlefield for you? And that person said, I have zero faith in the Democrats. A lot of people have actually lost faith long time ago. So I'm not even surprised seeing this particular type of comments when she said she has zero faith. A lot has actually lost it. And that person said 92% here, unfortunately, we will not be assisting with this. We are tired. We did what is needed November 5th due to other people. We have now have a cycle running a country that 64% white men, 55 white women. This is up to him. This person is literally saying that they're not going to support, like it's none of their business. And that person says, shut it down. A lot of people are like, shut it down. Like, we do not even care. Shut it down. Let every single one of us suffer. But the truth is, the orange man is not actually going to suffer. The people that are going to suffer are the people that are not in the white supremacy end. That's just the truth. That is the time to get out of our comfort zone. How many persons are willing to get out of their comfort zone? That is the biggest question you need to be asking yourself. In as much as a lot want to get out, how many want to leave what they are doing for them to actually come and say what they needed to say? And that person said, why didn't anyone do anything as American citizens? The German for doing stuff, blah, blah, blah. And that person said, I agree with this so loud. On that person say, shut it all the way down. Exactly. A lot of people are not even bothered about this. A lot of people are still bothered. I just feel like most of the people that are not bothered about this, let me just stop there. Most of the people that are not bothered about this are people that did not really understand what this shutting down is. Are people that did not really understand the implication, the disadvantage it is actually going to cost them as a country, as individual, as a nation as well, right? I don't even know what to say again, but let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Do you think it is a good thing that the government is actually shutting down? Do you think it is not a good thing? What are your reasons? Let me know in the comment section. If you have not subscribed, like this video, drop in your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share. And yes, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Do not touch the dial. Come back for more videos, okay? For educational purposes, I stand a chance to be corrected. Bye for now. I love you guys. Mwah.